The 24-volt brushless recip saw, one-handed recip saw from Flex. Is it something you need? Let's find out. Today we've got the FLEX FX2241 and it's their 24-volt brushless one-handed reciprocating saw. It's got a couple of bells and whistles, but not any that are going to get in the way. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at those. Then we'll use it and come back and talk about pricing, warranty, and what we think of this tool. We have the FLEX FX2241. This is their 24-volt one-handed reciprocating saw. So meant to be a compact one-handed saw, meant to get in, get the work done, get out. Smaller jobs, you know, not huge demo jobs. Huge demo jobs, you'd go to a full-size reciprocating saw. So again, this is meant to make those cuts like PVC is a great example, maybe even conduit, you know, 2x4s, 4x4s even, but things you're wanting to make quick, you know, kind of singular cuts, if you will, not a lot of multiples. Anyway, you get it. It's a compact tool, or meant to be. There are some feature-esque items on here, so there's some good features on here. However, it's not over featured, and I've made this point before, especially on a recip saw, or really getting into about any type of compact tool, is that if we over feature this thing, then it becomes kind of a complicated tool, and then you're circumventing the whole idea of having a compact tool to get your work done. Very simple, pull the trigger and go. We do have a variable speed trigger, so we can make this go as, you know, slow as we want to and grab as much throttle as we want to, and it will take us all the way up to 3,000 strokes per minute. That's one of the key features there, is getting up to that 3,000 range, which most one-handed recips do not go that high. Also, the stroke on this is a full 1-inch stroke. Now, I think you can go too far with that as well, because again, you don't want this thing rocking all over the place. However, that's another feature that Flex has done that's inside the tool, nothing you have to mess with, but basically some internal balancing to offset that long stroke of that weight going in and out. And so we still have a balanced tool even when it's cutting something, because of the balancing they're doing inside the tool in here that we don't see. We don't have to flip a switch or anything like that. Now, it's running on their 24-volt batteries. This is their 2.5 amp hour, which you can get this FX2241 kitted with a 2.5 amp hour battery and a charger. So that's why we chose to run this with the 2.5 amp hour. And if you haven't seen their batteries, they're just great batteries. One of the key things is just the fuel gauge. So if I push the button here, there's no question as to how much juice is left in that battery. We get 4 cells to see, and they light up very bright so that we can see exactly how much we have left in that battery. Now, we have a trigger lock here where we can lock this to the off position, and then we can throw it in our toolbox, or we're not going to accidentally hit the trigger and turn it on. So flip that over and pull the trigger and go. Now, the shoe here does pivot. It is not adjustable, so it doesn't go in and out, but it does pivot for you, as well as we get 2 LED lights, one on the top and one on the bottom, to help shine additional light on that cutting area, not just one on one side, because if you've used one of these before, then you're all the time having to flip it over, turn it, whatever, to get your best position. So now that we have an LED on the top and bottom, we have a better chance at shining the light where we need it. Now, let me show you one of the things about this chuck here. So I've got this blade, and if I want to put the blade in, the chuck is already locked in its open position. So I don't need a tool to insert this, nor do I even need to hold that ring with my fingers. So I can take the blade here, stick it through the shoe, and in here. So when I push this in, you'll see this spring-loaded lock kind of click over. So I'll push it in, and now it clicks into place, and now this is locked. Now, to remove this blade, obviously I need to turn this, so I do have to reach with my other hand, and you'll see it's somewhat spring-loaded as well. If I turn this, it ejects the blade for me, and again, locks it in that open position to where I don't have to turn that again. Just put the blade in, push, and that locks the blade in. So that's a cool feature as well. Makes it a lot easier to not have to use 2 hands every time you insert a blade. Now we'll go ahead and remove this blade. And before I remove this blade, let me show you. So now my blade is in upside down, and that's another key thing. Even though that obviously on a reciprocating saw blade, you have that offset shank right there, I can have this in either position and still lock that blade into place in the chuck. So I don't have to have it just one way. I can flip that blade over to work that saw however I need to, and it's still got that automatic capacity to lock that into place. Let's get a measurement. So from the shoe to the back of the battery, right at 16 inches. So not a short tool at all, but again, this is something that you're doing demolition work with, or at least, making cuts. So 15 3/4 inches, and from the table, a little less than 6 inches to the top of the tool. And as far as weight goes, without the battery, 4 pounds, 3.5, 4 pounds, 4 ounces. With the 2.5 amp hour battery, a little over 5 pounds, so 5 pounds, 9 ounces, so about 5.5 pounds with the 2.5 amp hour battery. So now let's take this guy over and let's make some cuts on it through some various material and see what we think. Okay, so now I've got a piece of PVC in the vise. Obviously this is going to be an easy cut. I've just got a bimetal blade in here, a little 6-inch bimetal blade, and I've got it chucked up here in the flex. Now I did want to show that full 1-inch stroke here so you can see how much distance I'm covering with that blade. Now we're going to do every cut probably until we get some thicker metal in here, but we'll do every cut with true one-handed fashion in the one-handed recip. So let's go ahead and start on this PVC. So obviously this is an easy cut. However, one thing about it, it's ripping through there. It's not shaking a lot. Sometimes a one-handed recip will want to grab into that PVC and just kind of shake you all over the place. That's not the case on this. Easy one-handed operation. Push that shoe in and now I'll put a little force under it or on top of it and even quicker. So PVC, not an issue. Didn't think it would be. Something else pretty common for a one-handed recip would be conduits. Here's a piece of 1-inch conduit. Again, very smooth. Very easy to cut. Okay, now I've got a piece of aluminum in here. I don't know, it's like 1.5 by 1, something like that, but about 1/8 inch thick aluminum. Now, this should cut it really easily. However, what is typical of aluminum is it's a really soft metal and it likes to gum up the teeth. So let me give you a little tip. I'll make the first cut here and then I'll show you what happens. I could have put more force in it, but as you can see, my vise wasn't exactly tight to hold that. But you'll see what the aluminum does. It actually cakes up the teeth. So it actually fills the teeth up and it makes it quick cutting basically. And I'll tell you a tip you can do to stop that. So you can take wax, you could take candle wax and just kind of run the blade across it. I've actually got wax in here and it's kind of a hot day, so it's going to be a gummy mess. And I'm going to make a mess getting in here. But anyway, I'm just going to put a little wax on the teeth. I know I'm going way overboard here, but just kind of show you how this works. So now I've got some wax on the teeth. Now let's make another cut. Cuts through much quicker and it doesn't leave any of those aluminum chunks. In fact, it cleans some of those out that were in there from putting that wax on it, and that's what that wax will do. See, I used the front half of that blade that time and I don't have any of those teeth with the aluminum chunks in it like I did back here. So just a tip for you, that works on carbide burr tips as well. Okay, now I've got a piece of old pallet wood, so it's an honest 2 inches by probably 3 inches. So a true 2 by 3. It's not a 2 by 3 dimensional lumber. This is actually 2 inches wide and 3 inches tall. And it's a piece of wood that's come off a pallet. It's kind of tough, to be honest. But anyway, so let's make a couple of cuts with that. I'm going to take out the old bimetal blade here. Put in more of a true wood fashion blade. And now let's see how we do. So again, one-handed. Just going to flip this blade over here and come up from the bottom. So again, flip that blade over, right side up, upside down, doesn't matter. That blade's a little bit warm. Very smooth cutting for a one-handed recip. Now we'll cut some thicker steel. So this is a piece of 1x1 square tubing. It is at least an 1/8 inch thick, so a little bit thicker steel, getting more into structural steel. So I put on a steel blade. So again, very smooth cuts. Obviously with a second hand, I could really smooth that out. And I could put more pressure on it. And speed up that cut. Performance-wise, this tool really has everything you need for a one-handed recip saw. It's got the power to do about anything you want to do with one hand as far as demo work's concerned, or as far as, you know, cutting material. So the 24-volt battery provides plenty of power for it, even at the 2.5 amp hour battery. Now, if you're making lots of cuts and you're doing a lot of handy stuff like that, then you may want to step up to, say, their 3.5 amp hour flat stack lithium, or the lithium stacked, or up to a 5 or a 6 amp hour battery. Definitely you could get more runtime out of it. But for the tool like this, we would recommend sticking with that 2.5 amp hour, and you can get it kitted with this. So performance-wise, does great. Weight, it's not a light tool, but again, it's doing a lot of work for the amount of weight it does displace. We love the 1-inch stroke in this, and the balancing characteristics of it, where it's not still vibrating you to death even though it has that long stroke. Because if you just throw a long stroke out there, then the next thing you know, this tool is wanting to rip you back and forth, and it does not do that. It does very well with their counterbalancing system that they have built into the tool. Makes a big difference when cutting that material. And you saw, whether we're cutting PVC or cutting conduit, or even, you know, some 1/8 inch thick steel, still has the power to cut through very easily. We love the one-handed bit insert, or the one-handed saw blade insert. Makes it very handy to change blades on this. And as far as pricing goes, now you can get this tool as a bare tool, so the FX2241, like this, with no battery or charger, and it's $159. However, we'd recommend the battery and the charger. You're looking at $199, and you get the 5-year warranty with this. And as with all Flex tools, if you buy them by December 31st of 2022, you can upgrade that 5-year warranty up to their founder's warranty, which gives you a lifetime warranty on the tool and the battery. Now, you have to do that by actually registering the tool within 90 days of purchase, and you have to buy the tool before December 31st or the ending of this year, 2022. So we definitely recommend you registering the tool if you do buy one of these. Otherwise, you're going to get that standard 5-year warranty with it. Great tool. Check it out for yourself. Again, $159 bare tool, $199 for the kit price. We'll have links in the description. Also, keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and even TikTok. And if you don't mind, would you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already? And by all means, if you hated our video, then give us a thumbs down. But would you let us know in the comments why? Have a great day and keep smiling.